behind the scenes like never before. Backstage Brew.
Backstage Brew is live from the Chiswick Playhouse. I'm Mark Jarvis. I've got my brew, and I'm here to chat to the cast and crew of Lovedance, who are about to take this place by storm. So let's get into it.
Because life is better when you've got a cuppa on the go. This is Backstage Brew.
Backstage Brew is with the wonderful Derek on stage at the Chiswick Playhouse. This is all very exciting. First of all, what is in your brew?
I'm channeling my inner 8-year-old, and I'm having a hot chocolate. A soy hot chocolate.
Well, at least it's environmentally friendly, but also, I think the thing with hot chocolate is sometimes you just need a bit of a pick-me-up, especially in rehearsal. You guys are coming towards like the really, really intense moments of tech and dress and previews and press nights. So, it's a lot of last-minute tweaks and final rehearsals and a lot of runs as well.
Yeah, and also theatres are cold places. So hot chocolate is keeping me warm from the inside out, so I'm quite happy.
Right, we're now joined by the wonderful Jacoba on stage, and let's start off with what's in your brew, because you've got a rather fancy brew this morning.
I've gone for a chai latte today.
Stunning, right? And this is kind of going back to your youth as well, because I didn't realise, Marduk, that you are also very well acquainted with Nottingham, where I'm from, right? And you went to a nursery in Sneinton. Anyone from Nottingham will know that it's a lovely picturesque area. And they gave you chamomile tea at nursery. It's the bougiest nursery I think I've ever heard.
Do you know what? I think it was like a bit hippie for like the 90s. Mm-hmm. And it was right up my dad's street, and it's near his work, so he dropped me off there. And if you're naughty, you got a cup of chamomile tea.
If you were naughty, you got a cup of chamomile tea. Is this not a bit backwards though? Because surely you'd just get surely if you were good, you'd get the chamomile tea.
Well, I think I'm actually a goody two shoes like at heart, so I think I was really naughty because I just kept having chamomile tea. So I was like, oh, this is so nice. Like I'm gonna do more naughty things just to get more chamomile tea. So. That is the story of how I got my chai latte today. Bougie nurseries.
All the way from Sneinton. But I feel like as well, like you're saying the goody two shoes thing, I think maybe you are until you're with someone like me or Derek, and then the naughty side definitely comes out when everyone's a little bit cheeky. Especially when it's someone who is like northern or like, Derek is just a massive character, isn't he?
Yeah, he's so lovely to work with. He's like, we're just giggling all the time in rehearsals. He's just good friends. It's nice when you work on a show and you've got a good friend on it.
Right, we're joined now by the lovely director, Lesley. First up, what is in your brew this morning?
Breakfast tea with milk.
Lovely, simple but effective. We love a brew, don't we? So let's talk about the actual process of this. As a director, for such a hilarious piece, you must have had the most fun with these guys. And the story itself is centered around, a really strong female character who wants to have a kid, but doesn't necessarily want the relationship stuff with it. Have you had many rehearsal techniques where you were like kind of playing around with power or with anything like in terms of like dynamics between the two of them? Because it's a very common thing nowadays.
We've definitely got a journey for each one. Well, our process was discovering it through the text, and then going into impro, and then back to the text. That was our journey. But Jacoba is in there with the power stakes already.
Right, Andy the writer has joined us on Backstage Brew. Andy, what's in your brew?
Just a straight English tea.
There you go.
Fancy.
It's great to have a nice brew. A tea is the greatest thing in rehearsal, I think, especially when you're starting a day, right? You need a brew to kind of kick off and have a little warm with everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it kicks you off.
Yeah, big time. You've had an amazing career. Like, you've had so many brilliant pieces of work. You've worked with Lesley before on Delivery on a 5-star play, which we've been chatting about with everyone else as well. And also a lot of people will of course be watching going, oh my God, he wrote part of Tracy Beaker. That's amazing. How different are the experiences writing between like something like Tracy Beaker, which is obviously screen and TV, to a play? They're polar opposite in terms of like the structure of obviously like episodic or in terms of one through storyline. But there must be a lot of similarities as well.
Well, the thing about writing for animation, my love of animation came from it being a visual medium, so that you have to make it visual. And I never put dialogue into the animations; they're always just action. So I made it visually as strong as I possibly could. You come to theatre, and it's all dialogue. it's not all dialogue, but it's 99% dialogue based. So it's going from one extreme to another.
Yeah.
So I'm going from thinking of how can I make this visually exciting, like making it like setting things on the moon, you know, dragons, the impossible. To suddenly I've got two actors who have got to work everything with a broom and a chair. You know, so you have to completely rethink the way you work. But that's the challenge of it. That's the brilliant thing of thinking, how can I write something, a two-hander with a sofa and a fridge, and that's the end of it, you know? So you have to milk that situation for comedy.
It's quite an interesting storyline for you because, well, I'll let you explain a little bit as well without maybe giving too much away because we want people to come and watch it. But what's the like conflict like for you? Because it's quite hard, especially in what is effectively like a romantic play, but it's not always as easy as it seems.
No, I mean, he is a very lovable character, but he's one of those lovable characters that you kind of want to smack because he's getting in his own way a lot, and you know, he's quite lazy and quite lethargic, and you know, causing a lot of his own problems, and needs a bit of a boot in the bum. Which does he get? Who knows? Wait and see. Come see the show. But he is a lovable character, but so is Rose. They are really likeable characters, so that they're people you want to watch, and that's what's so fun about doing the show as well, because they're people we're enjoying playing. So we can't complain, really.
Yeah, massively. And you're working with just the most brilliant duo in Lesley and Andy as well, who've already had a 5-star play between them. What's it been like in rehearsals? Because I'm sure Andy's writing is just brilliant. I mean, most of the UK will know it from, of course, Tracy Beaker. But, I mean, in terms of theatre-wise as well, he's brilliant. And Lesley must have so many amazing techniques as a director that, I mean, as an actor, is just the most fun to play off as well.
They are phenomenal. I absolutely love them. And they're so different. You know, they come in with such a different energy and everything. And Lesley, oh my God, I want to adopt them. Or I want them to adopt me, actually, preferably. But they're brilliant. And the stories that they have, like, we'll just stop in the middle of rehearsals and start chatting about, they'll mention some random story that's just throwaway for them. But we're like, oh my God, can we sit and talk about that for 2 hours? And they're brilliant. But Andy's amazing and the script is brilliant. And he's not precious with it at all. And he's really generous with it. So he's allowing us to play with it and sort of mess around with things and change little bits here and there because nothing needed changing. And Lesley just makes you feel really relaxed and really at ease and like really confident. And she kind of has that real nice balance of sort of letting you enough space to do your own thing and to discover things yourself, but also sort of lead you in the right direction and sort of push you towards sort of the right decisions and things. So it's been phenomenal.
And it's great when you have someone like that because your character as well, like she's a working professional, she's like a really powerful woman, amazing character to have in theatre, and so good that we're seeing a lot more of these characters. But you've got that balance of like, you really want a kid, but you don't want the relationship side of it. And as an actor, that's a really interesting dynamic to have, especially when you're like creating the character. What kind of processes were you using when you were kind of going through the prep and the build-up, and even during rehearsals as well? Because I bet it's changed so many times when you're exploring each of these scenes.
Yeah, it does vary. And luckily, Lesley's an amazing director. So she worked in this really exciting way where we're sort of like improving moments as well. So it feels really fresh. It feels really like there's 1,000 different options of how we can play it, and then we find the one that feels true to the piece, that's true to Andy's words. But there's it's so interesting. I think like loads of women go through this very similar thing about like the balance of a career and a baby, and it's really hard to find that. And I think, I mean, Rose's own troubles is about she doesn't want a man, and actually I think that's to do with maybe a history of men in her life. But there's also like, we have it as actors now. Like, if you're self-employed, let alone like no one's going to pay you maternity pay. You know, like it's that thing about when do I do those things like set up a family? When do I want those things? And you know, I'm not at that phase in my life yet, but you know, I will be. For
you, what's your kind of like get-in for a character? Like, how do you prep for a character before you come into rehearsals?
Well, this one, I mean, it's huge because it's a two-hander, and it literally is just myself and Jacoba on stage for the whole run of the show. Like a lot of the time, you know, you'll break down your scenes and break down your characters and, you know, the journey. But with this, I'm pretty much on stage basically the whole show. And obviously there is a journey from start to finish. So like at first it's just reading the script and discovering who the character is and what the story is and the storyline and the journey that they're going on. And then it's just more about trying to find that flow, you know, with the story and the journey, especially, as I said, as you're on stage for the entire show, practically. I think I leave at one point towards the end. But there is, I mean, with this, there's a lot of work goes into it because it's such a sort of a weighty part. Yeah. And like I find sometimes with kind of comedy, it's almost harder because it's adding another element to it. So not only you're trying to discover who the character is and what the journey is and what the story is, but you're also trying to find the humor in it, and a natural humor, because this is about natural comedy. It's not about farce and over the top characters and that kind of thing. It's about real people and real situations and finding the humor and the comedy in that. Yeah. So it's been really, really fun, but you'll be exhausted at the end of the day. Your mind is like sleepy.
The text as well, obviously from Andy, I mean, is unbelievable. You guys have worked together before on a 5-star brilliant play called Delivery, and it must be great to be back together as well, because you have that trust and you have that kind of dynamic already, and you know exactly how each other's going to work. Yeah.
No, it is a bit hand in glove. Yeah. It's a massive fun, and absolutely know this story. Both of us know this story. Yeah.
And it's from Andy as well. He was saying that he's got a friend who's been through a similar kind of thought process. It is more common nowadays, and it's quite a lot. Especially with me and Jacoba were chatting about, like, especially if you're an actress, you don't get maternity pay if you're having like 9 months off, and it's quite hard. But at the same time, like, it's an absolutely fine thing to do, and it really, especially in the world now where it's, you know, much more acceptable for a lot of different things, it's quite a great thing. I think it's quite a lovely little dynamic between a mum and a child, and you don't necessarily need a man.
Well said.
Yeah.
And you don't need a mug tree either.
No, exactly. I'm guessing the mug tree is like one of those things where you hang loads of different mugs on the side of it, or have you got a different explanation for it?
It becomes quite a central theme in this play. Yeah, it's a symbol.
Okay, so little like spoiler alert for you there. Get your tickets.
There's a line in the play, right, where they talk about it, and where they maybe plan. Oh no, I can't do any spoilers. What? Oh, they might. Oh, maybe.
They maybe, but might not, but could do potentially. You have to come and watch it though to find out if it's definitely all right.
Whether or not 2 hours is long enough time to make a baby. And it's like the misconception on both sides is very funny.
Well, this is it, and I think it's quite nice that we're back in the theatre as well. We were saying Zoom is just not the same, especially with a play like this. It's so hilarious as well.
Yeah, Zoom's has its moments, but it drives me nuts. And to have a real live audience laughing at your material, I can't think of anything better, to be honest. It's just amazing. It must be like scoring a goal in a football match with the crowd there. It's like, oh wow, they like it, and they're laughing and they're crying. It's just amazing. I can't tell you the buzz you get off that. Yeah, big time. So how has it been in rehearsals with these guys then? Because you are back, you've got another play which is great. And this one as well especially has been kind of close to you, because it's a friend's experience that she's spoken to you about. And we were saying that in the world now, this is such a more accepting world, which is so important. It's much more of a normality now than, you know, it ever was before, and I think that's great, because I mean anyone should be able to do their like life journey however they want to. Well, totally, yeah, but it's not that easy. I mean, it's not easy if you do it the standard old-fashioned way. It's certainly not easy if you then start to break the rules and mess with the system. And that's what this character Rose does. She wants to do it her way. She's very determined, and she doesn't want a man, but she wants a baby. Well, that's a common situation these days, but as a comedy writer, I thought I can dig into that. Yeah. And that's what we've got. And these two actors are just fantastic. They've really grabbed the characters and run with it and made it like a really warm-hearted, light, funny comedy. Yeah. But with underneath it, it's got sort of some social issues there, which, you know, I'm very pleased that they're pulling out. You can just get it up on its feet and have fun with it. And I suppose with theatre, it's so great to be back in the room, but it's also one of them where, you know, you have such a short rehearsal time and you have to get through it so quickly. And being able to be back in person in a theatre like this is brilliant. It's such a lovely, intimate vibe. The team are so great as well. And it must have been the most fun having like the last 3 or 4 weeks in a venue that is as just beautiful as this.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It is great to be back and not on Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's the plan for the next few weeks then? Have you got any like cheeky like behind the scenes rehearsal techniques to like keep everyone like happy, or do you have any like games that you play or anything like that?
Yeah, we do play loads of games. But dancing. Dancing's the warm up.
Dancing's the one, isn't it? Yeah, you've got to, especially back in person as well. You can't dance on Zoom really, so it's quite nice to dance back in person. And obviously you get to work with Lesley and Andy. You've mentioned it already. What a duo. 5-star play between them already. His writing is just phenomenal. Her directing, especially for you as well. I mean, and both of them have had like kind of personal experience or of knowledge of friends who have been through a very similar storyline to your character. So that's been amazing probably for you to vibe off and learn from as well.
Yeah, I mean, Lesley and Andy's experience goes back like before theatre. Like they have got I've worked with Lesley a couple of years ago on film, and the amount of stuff that Lesley has directed on TV, if you go on her IMDb, it is insane. And Andy did like animation on like Morph. Remember that? The little plasticines? They did like so much of that. So their like wealth of knowledge and like their experience on like how to create characters and how to work with actors and work on the space is. We're blessed. We're so blessed. And like Derek's a dream. Do you know what I mean? All I've got to do is learn my lines. That's it.
Yeah.
Makes it easy. Makes it so easy. And this is such a lovely space, and all the production team, like the way the set is going to look is, I'm excited. It's going to feel like a real working house in this theatre. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun.
Do you think you're going to have any moments on set? We were chatting to Derek earlier. I was like, what are the exclusives behind the scenes? Are you going to have any moments on set? Because I know I'd be exactly like this. I'm sure Derek is going to be exactly the same, right? Where you kind of like each night, especially when you get comfortable after the first sort of week, where you start playing with things or maybe just doing something slightly different where the other one like doesn't expect it, or like you might like boil a kettle at the back of stage when the other one's in the middle of a monologue or something, or turn on the dishwasher or something crazy like that. Have you got anything planned for each other?
Listen, I hold my cards close to my chest. If I can make Derek corpse on stage, then that is a winner. That is a winner. Do you know what? There is one line in this play that I can't say straight. Like, we're talking about fish, right? And then Andy's written, it's very efficient. No, that's a funny pun. No, it's like, okay, when you see the play, it's, well, I don't know if it's that funny, but I can't stop giggling.
It's the shudder for me. Do you know when you look at someone else and you can see that the curl of the mouth, and then they're like, if someone actually corpses, that's better for me. It's the shudder of like trying to not laugh. That kills me. Before we go, what is the cheekiest, funniest exclusive from behind the scenes that you can give us? Is there anything that's happened, like a funny story that you've got from rehearsals? I mean, there must be loads from you guys.
Well, I mean, there is. I mean, a lot of it is just today. Even when you arrived in, there's a Hoover in the show, or not a Hoover. Actually, it's the Henry. There were other Hoovers available that we've suddenly been using today. It's just arrived today for the first time, and that was fun. It just involved a lot of me falling around the stage and tripping over things, and getting wrapped up in leads and wires. And Jacoba found that hilarious and did everything she could to try and make it worse.
All right, before we go, what's your favourite exclusive from behind the scenes? We chatted to Derek about this. He mentioned the Henry. Have you got any hilarious moment that you were like, this was gold, I loved this from behind the scenes?
Rehearsals have just been really fun from start to beginning. They've just been so fun. And like, I suppose also like after this whole year, man, let's be really honest, like meeting new people has been so, it's just a pleasure and a blessing, and it's glorious to be able to work in a lovely environment, and the theatre's made it feel really safe, and it just feels almost like doing a play 3 years ago. It's just really, that's so special to me, just having a nice connection with lovely people.
I can't wait to watch it. I'm so excited. Best of luck with Tech Week next week and with the press night as well. I'm sure it'll be a massive blur, but I'm sure it's going to go incredibly well, and I can't wait to watch it.
Thank you very much for coming, and yes, come along and see it, and we'll have a coffee afterwards.
Yay! More hot chocolate.
We'll have a pint.
Brew.
Because we're adults.
Just.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, dude.
Backstage Brew with Mark Jarvis.